Gun violence is a topic heavy on people's minds after two school shootings happened this week, one being yesterday at Florida State University. WIFR reporter Bria Walters talks to community members about how mental health resources may help stop violence.
Hurt people hurt people.
Closing the gap for mental health resources is just one solution to help end gun violence in young people, according to State Line mother and preschool teacher Margaret Taylor.
When something like that happens, you're like, what happened to that child, that innocent child? Was there no mental health for them? Did their parents not realize what was going on?
Rockford parent Daryl Yang also feels there is more we can do to address mental health. He says it's not just about easy access to weapons.
Trying to identify those people that have those issues, and instead of relegating them to a corner and saying like you're bad, try to find out what it is that's going on and address that for them so we don't get to this point.
OSF St. Anthony Medical Center's Strive Recovery program tries to address the growing incidence of violence. It starts by addressing trauma in a person's life, trauma that often leads to violent tendencies down the road. The program for teens and adults helps them talk through their feelings.
Our brain isn't made to withstand some of these traumas, so it's important to talk to somebody as soon as possible.
Teresa Yelling is the manager of OSF's Strive Recovery program. She says it's already seeing results.
And 98% have not been hospitalized for suicidal or homicidal ideation. That's incredible for this kind of population of folks that we serve.
In the State Line, Bria Walters, WIFR News.
Strive services are free to adults and teens who live in Rockford. For more information, visit our website, WIFR.com.